The other thing is, our next presentation here is kind of in two parts. So what we're going to ask is that you hold your questions until after the first half, and then you hold questions until after the second half as well. Or if you do have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and Angelica and I will monitor the chat as well.
Thank you, and I'll be introducing our guests today. Then we have here Heather Singmaster. She is Director of CTE and GCEN, Center for Global Education at the Asia Society, where her work focuses on international best practices and integrating global competences in career technical education, CTE programs, as well as state and national policy. Heather leads the Global Cities Education Network, a network of international cities focused on best practices sharing in education. She speaks and writes regularly on global education, including as the former host of Educational Week's Global Learning blog. She previously worked at the Council of Foreign Relations in the American Association for the Advancement of Science and the Office of the United States Trade Representative. And Matt Schiavenza is the Assistant Director of Content at Asia Society and Senior Editor of Asia Society magazine. His work has appeared in a variety of publications, including The Atlantic, Foreign Policy, the Los Angeles Review of Books, The Wire China, The New Republic, Strategy and Businesses, and many more. So with that, I would like to invite Matt to initiate.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Angelica, for the introduction. My name is Matt Schiavenza, and I am, as you said, I do work on the content side at Asia Society. So what I'll do is begin by explaining a little bit more about what Asia Society is, since it is kind of a funny name and it's not always very clear what we do. But we are a nonprofit organization. We have our headquarters in New York City. But we have about 13 locations around the world. In the United States, we have offices and centers in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Houston, Texas. And we also have a number of locations throughout Asia and Europe as well. And Asia Society is an organization that has a mission to navigate shared futures. And what that means is building bridges of understanding between the United States and Asia. And the organization is structured around three pillars, which can be understood as types of subject matter or fields. One is arts, and at our headquarters in New York, and also in, we have a award-winning art museum called the Asia Society Museum. If you're ever in New York City for a visit, please stop by. It's beautiful and you can be in and out in about an hour. It's very small, but it is a terrific museum. We also have a lot of performing arts over the years, and the pandemic kind of interrupted our performing arts programming for a while. But we have had lots of music and dance and other types of performances, not only in New York, but also at our home in Houston. And another pillar that we have is policy. So Asia Society has a think tank called the Asia Society Policy Institute, which is structured around coming up with ways that governments and organizations and institutions across Asia can sort of come up with better policies and implement them. So I mean, for a think tank, it's much more about helping governments actually implement policies and make things happen rather than just put forward ideas. And of course, we have education in the Center for Global Education, where my colleague Heather works. And that is another great sub-institution or sub-brand of Asia Society, based largely around the concept of global competence, which is really helping educators and students around the world and around the country learn skills that help them function in a globalized economy and a globalized society in which they may have to compete against people from other countries. So in addition to many other aspects, which I am not the expert in, but so yeah, that's a lot. So what does Asia Society actually do? We have programs. So if you come to New York or one of our other centers, we have a lot of public programs. Of course, the pandemic has interrupted them, but I think beginning recently, and it will ramp up over this year, we hope. We have an auditorium and people come and pay money to hear lectures and panel discussions, presentations, films, and so forth. We also, our think tank and our Center for Global Education also produce papers, reports, and other documents, which we send out. Our art museum has exhibitions. We have a permanent collection, but we also organize exhibitions, typically 1 or 2 per year, depending, as well as smaller, more specialized exhibitions. So it's a very big and sprawling organization with a big mission and a lot of different bells and whistles. And so my job on the communications team is to figure out a way to create content online that is accessible to the public, and so that the public, i.e. people like you, can access what we do and access our work. And until fairly recently, we were very much tied and tethered to our brick and mortar locations. So for example, if you wanted to see an Asia Society program, you needed to be based in a city where we have a center. And what we've done over the last decade plus is shifted gradually to what we call digital first. And that means that when we come up with programs, publications, initiatives, and other work, we think first about how this can be rendered digitally so that it is accessible to people around the world. And it isn't something that is exclusive to our audiences who happen to live in New York or Hong Kong or, you know, San Francisco or wherever. So what that means is that all of our programs are, or the vast majority of our programs are filmed and hosted in our video gallery. We have a YouTube page that has almost 300,000 subscribers, and we would encourage all of you to subscribe to it. There's a lot of good stuff. And we have a magazine, which I work very closely on, and a podcast and other things. And I would say that our team has, we're small and mighty at the moment. I think we have 7 full-time staff for the entire communications team, but we are ramping up this year, sort of in the post-pandemic world. We're hoping to expand quite a bit over time. So what I want to do in this presentation is to just show you a little bit about what this looks like and to show you some of our different things. And if you'll just bear with me, I do need to open a couple more windows so I can get ready. But what I can do is just to kind of go through our resources and show you sort of what we have. And after that, I think there's plenty of time for questions. And if for whatever reason I'm speaking too fast or gliding through something a little bit too quickly, you can just holler at me and I will stop. So one way that our, I'm just going to share, let's see, sorry, I need to enable screen sharing.
Do you see that ability, that option?
Yeah, I am just taking care of it now. Oh, sorry, I can't do that just yet. It won't let me.
Okay, hold on. Can you try again?
I think it's because I've never used WebEx before. Let's see.
Would you want to send us your presentation and we could share it on our end?
Yes, can I send, I apologize. Can I send over some links in the chat?
Sure.
They're actually web pages, so it should be pretty easy. Okay. Is there a chat function?
Yes.
Yes, so if you go to the,
Oh, I see it. Okay. Angelica, I'm going to send these to you.
Okay.
That's okay? Yeah, sorry about that. So, um, just there's a handful here.
Okay. I see that.
And I've got a few more.
Okay.
And almost there.
So I'm actually going to share the screen in case you want to walk through the material you're sharing with me.
Sure, yeah, you can go ahead. I think that's it.
Okay, I think I have all of them. So
Okay, great.
I'm going to
So
go to the first one that you shared. It's this one.
great. Okay, so we just to give you a little bit of a tour about how our site is organized, and it is fairly intuitive. So I would invite all of you to go to asiasociety.org at your leisure and just poke around because there is a lot to explore there. But one of the ways in which we organize content, so if you look at this page that says India, this is a country page. And what this is we have a tagging system on our website. And whenever we have something related to India, maybe it's a video, a program that has something to do with India, it could be an upcoming event, it could be a piece of content. It ends up on this page, being displayed on this page. And we have pages like this for every country in Asia, and we take a pretty expansive definition of Asia, by the way. So basically Israel to New Zealand and just about everywhere in between. As you can see from this massive menu, we have something on for a lot of different countries. And obviously there are certain countries that we tend to have more programming about. China and India, for example, we'll have more about them than, say, Tajikistan or Tuvalu or Samoa. But we do try to have a pretty wide geographic range. Most of our programs would be Iran, in Central Asia and South Asia, and East Asia and Southeast Asia. I would say that West Asia or the Middle East, we have a little bit less on, but it's growing. We've had a few programs on Israel and so forth over the last few years. So yeah, I would say I would encourage you to go to poke around. We have, I know that this group is concerned a lot with South Asia. We have India, Pakistan, quite a lot, Nepal, and so forth. And where you'll see article for Israel, article and a blog post. Um, this is what we have for written content as well. So we organize it so that if you want to watch a video from one of our programs, you can do that. If you want to read something, we do have a blog called Asia Blog, which is going away because we're launching a magazine soon. But we hope to have even more content online in the coming months. So a person can go to our site and really just get a wide range. So if you go to the next page, please. Okay, so this is a program that our Switzerland Center has hosted. And this was recent, so it was held on Zoom and not in person. A closer look at Pakistan. So our Switzerland Center, which is based in Zurich, will hold programs that feature a deep dive into a country that typically doesn't get as much coverage as others do. Pakistan is actually an exception because I think Pakistan is a country that does get a fair amount of attention from our organization and from the media at large, but they've held episodes on Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and other parts of South Asia that are a little bit less high profile in the news. And I think if you can go to the next one. Okay, here's something that is fun. If you can click play. This is one of our most popular videos, and it's a musical performance from Sanam Marvi, a Pakistani performer, I believe. And this was held on our stage in 2017, and you can see that beautiful rug that we have there. And we've had all sorts of great musical performances over the years. And what I'll say is that if you look at the number of views, so we're very close to 2 million views. That's incredible because Sanam Marvi came once and she performed in our auditorium that held 250 people. So those 250 people were able to access it, but because we put it on YouTube, 2 million people have been able to see it. So our YouTube channel has hundreds of videos, and they're of all kinds. You can look at their musical performances, panel discussions. And if you do a search within our channel by country, and you say, I just want to learn more about India or learn more about Pakistan or wherever, that's quite easy to find a wide range of stuff, current affairs and musical performances and so on and so forth. Okay, if you go to the one, I think it's another one. Okay, so here's the homepage of our Policy Institute. And our Policy Institute is where you would find more sober current affairs and government policy analysis. We recently launched a feature called ASPI Notes. So ASPI is the shorthand, the short name for our institute. They have a feature called ASPI Notes, which are short and breezy takes on current events. So I'm just going to sort of look, if you go to the one that says ASPI Note, Understanding the 2+2 and the Biden-Modi Virtual Summit. If you can click on that one, please. Thank you. So this is an example of something that is obviously a summit between President Biden and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And it was written by Akhil Berry, who is one of our experts on India at the Policy Institute. And he's someone, and what you can do is sort of the way it's structured, it says what's happening in background. So the idea behind these notes is that if you're a person that maybe you read something about this in the news, maybe you saw a headline, but you really don't even know where to start. You know, you don't even know like the first thing about India-US relations, you can sort of click on that and it will fill you in. So that's something that we've launched this year. But the Policy Institute does a lot of work. If you look at the menu up top, it's also organized by country, but there are publications and events. Still, I would say that 80–90% of our programs and events are virtual. So if you look at our calendar, you can take a look and find something that you would like to tune into. And they're typically free and easy and available to the public, so you can do that. Now, I think that there is a page I've sent called the Progressive Revolution. If you might click on that real.
If I missed that one.
Oh, okay. Let me. Sorry about that. Let me send it to you.
I see it. No, it's
You
okay.
see it?
I have
Okay,
it.
great. Okay.
Just bear with me for a second. Oh, here you go.
Okay. There it is. Great. So this is a page that is a page for our exhibition that we held in fall 2018, so in the fall and winter a few years ago. And these pages are among the most beautiful on our site, and they are a great showcase for the art. Unlike our public programs, it's impossible to convey the museum experience seamlessly digitally, but we do have a lot of online information about all of our exhibitions, and you can see the art. There it is. There's 16 pieces, and there's a lot of written material that goes into great detail about them as well. And there you go, and it does render beautifully as well. And I think that's a fairly comprehensive take for now on our South Asia resources. Now, um, I think what I would encourage everyone to do is to just explore. We do have a pretty robust search feature on our website and on our YouTube page. So you can almost, find any kind of thing you'd like about a particular country or region. Or if you just want education resources, there's a bunch of those. I know our education pillar has, for Asian American Month, they've produced these great features on prominent Asian Americans from the past. So we do have a lot of great resources. And I should mention Asian American uh, issues in general, because over the last 5 years, I think Asia Society has paid a lot more attention to Asian American issues. And we've really increased a lot of our programming. And so we have a weekly video series that our president and CEO, Kevin Rudd, hosts called Asian Americans Building America. And these are short interviews, usually 10 to 20 minutes long, with a prominent Asian American, from all walks of life. We've had activists, opera singers, chefs, people from all over the country, of all ages. We had an 8th grade student who has become an Asian American activist in Oakland, California, and we've had, just all sorts of people. So we have a lot of coverage of that, and we plan to have a lot more as May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So we're planning to do interviews on our new magazine and so forth. Let me speak for just a moment. I don't know how much time I have, but I assume it's running short. So I'll just speak for just a moment now about our magazine, because this is a project that I work on. So I'd like to indulge, if you'll indulge me for a moment. We launched a magazine in early 2020 called Asia Society Magazine. We've put out 3 editions. Why don't you know about it? Well, they are so far only print, which I know is very anachronistic for 2022. But over the last year or so, my colleague and I have been building a website that will host all of our magazine content, all of the articles, and we think that this will be a really great addition to Asia Society's digital portfolio. What it is like any magazine. So if you picture foreign affairs, there's going to be some great resources, in-depth articles, essays, there's photo essays, there'll be infographics covering Asia, but it isn't just current events. We've had our former head of our education department, Tony Jackson, wrote a very powerful piece about Black Lives Matter for our 2021 edition. We have interviews with artists, and we've displayed beautiful artwork and photography. We have all sorts of stuff. All of that will be available to the public very soon on our website. And we'd like you to just keep visiting our magazine page, because it will be continually updated throughout the year. And this is an initiative that will involve basically every angle of our Asia Society family. So one more thing before I wrap up, that I want to mention about Asia Society, which I think personally is the most interesting and most exciting thing we do. We have a network called Asia 21 Young Leaders, and this started back in 2006. And basically, it is every year we nominate 30 to 40 Asians or Asian Americans, or occasionally non-Asians who work in Asia, who stand out in some particular way. Politicians, business people, activists, actors, entertainers, athletes, all sorts of people. And every year we've had a new class, and right now we have a network of over 1,000 people. The rule of thumb is they have to be under 40. So some of the ones who were nominated 15 years ago maybe aren't so young anymore, but we don't discriminate that way. But it is something I'd encourage you all to check out. They meet once a year in a different city and across our global network, and they do a lot of great work. And so it's something that we're very proud of as an organization, because we really highlight people who are doing extraordinary work. And a lot of our Asia 21 young leaders hail from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, all over South Asia. So that is basically about it. So I think I'll pause, and please let me know if you have any questions for me, and I'll do my best to answer them.
We'll give a minute for our participants to address any questions they might have. Thank you so much, Matt. Very interesting, and thank you for sharing all these resources. Is the link to the magazine available already?
Not yet, not yet. Soon enough. Yeah,
Okay.
we're doing a soft launch pretty soon. So
Heather
stay tuned.
Steezy.
I gave out copies of the hard copy at the CCID conference, Nellie, where you and I met. So they were in the bag. So some people have them. And another institution outside of Chicago actually requested copies for all the faculty. So I've been trying to send them.
Here's our cover, by the way. It is very beautiful. We work with a great design firm, and they put together a really gorgeous package for us. So we're thrilled.
All right. Well, we can, if you think of more questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
Sure.
Yeah. And thank you, Matt, for that. And I'll share a little bit about our education resources then, if that's okay. Let me share. I learned from Matt's experience and got my share set up while you were doing that. So can you see okay? Okay. So as Matt mentioned, we do have an education section to Asia Society. We're called the Center for Global Education. And we're a little bit different in that we are more focused on helping students to become globally competent. So we're not just specifically focused on Asia, but really helping students to be prepared to work in our interconnected world, but realizing that Asia is a key part of that future. So this is our definition of global competence. And so I'm going to share some tools and resources to help you internationalize your courses. So going beyond Asia, but really thinking about this global competence piece. So we worked with many stakeholders in education to define global competence about 15 years ago. And we worked with Harvard to publish a book with this definition, which has been widely adopted across the United States, as well as internationally by groups like UNESCO and OECD. And so I want to share just a quick 1-minute video that gives you a better idea of what is contained in the definition in our 4 domains of global competence.
Heather, if there is sound associated with the video, you might have to change what your audio is so that we can hear it on our end.
Okay, then I'll skip that then. We'll skip. I'm just glad I'm able to share.
It's fearless. We can try if you would like, Heather. It's just where you mute yourself if you click on the arrow and it says audio options. But if you don't want to go there.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it real fast. Now that I'm sharing, it's hard to see the
Oh, okay. So
oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, mute. It's by the mute button. Okay, it's okay. I'll just go through this myself. So this is the definition, and we have 4 domains of global competence, as you'll see here. So we have investigate the world. So this is really helping students to be interested in the world and how it works and able to formulate globally significant questions. This includes a lot of those skills of problem solving, being curious about the world, those 21st century skills. The second domain is recognize perspectives. So helping students realize that they have a perspective and you may or may not share it, but really being able to look at both of those and create a new point of view. This is about empathy and respect for other cultures. Social emotional learning is also included in this domain. And then the third one is communicate ideas. So this is about being able to communicate effectively with diverse audiences. So really helping students to not only be able to communicate, but to be able to use technology to communicate, realizing that that is one of the main platforms we are using today. And then the last is to take action. And this is helping students to realize that not only do they have agency to make a difference in the world, but they can start by doing that locally. So it's all of these skills, plus then really understanding that global issues and challenges will affect them no matter what job they go into. And also that as Americans, it's important to understand these global issues because we won't be able to solve them on our own. So we know that students need those academic skills. They need technical skills if they're in our technical programs. But what kind of sits in between and brings them together are employability skills or soft skills. So that teamwork, communication, we believe that that's where global competence sits, is being able to teach those skills through a global lens so that students are really ready to work with anyone from anywhere. Whether they're working for a big global company or they're working with diverse people in their own local community. So we've been focusing on creating tools and resources to help faculty be able to integrate global content, global skills into what they're already teaching. Because we don't think this is necessarily a separate add-on course, but really something that you can use to teach your standards in a more engaging way. So I've been working on a grant. So all the resources I'm going to share with you are completely free to create tools to specifically help those in the career and technical education side or technical programs, which can be anything from education to all of healthcare, of course, students in manufacturing or the skilled trades like welding, architecture, construction, government and STEM are also included. So we really do cover a wide array of programs. And the overarching goal is really to prepare all students for the global workforce. So we see a lot of benefits for this. We know a lot of campuses are working on their DEI initiatives and really in teaching in a more open-minded way that brings in all of your students, can be more inclusive, and help to really recruit more diverse students and then help them persist in their pathways. But also it can help with recruitment of diverse faculty. For students, this can lead to not only job placement, but helping them move up the career ladder. We've looked at and talked to a lot of CEOs, and these are skills that they want. They feel like they're losing business because they don't have workers with these skills, and so they can't access those international markets, and they can't work within diverse communities. So really helping students to have this perspective can help them get jobs and move up the career ladder. So what we've been creating are professional development modules for faculty to help you be able to internationalize your courses. We've also been creating student-focused materials, an online toolkit of resources, as well as some in-person workshops. So I want to just take a few minutes and share a little bit about each of these areas. So the faculty professional development modules, these are online and again, completely free. They're very interactive. Each module, you see we have 10 of them, is about 15 minutes long if you just watch it straight through, but there are a lot of activities and reflection pieces that go with them. So if you do a full module, it could be between 20 to 40 minutes, but you can really pick and choose what is most relevant to you. So you'll see here, the first one is around the importance of global competence. So if you already know that, you can just skip ahead. The second one is really for administrators at the programmatic level, thinking about how they can internationalize their program. And in that one, we introduce a tool called the Internationalizing Program Self-Reflection Tool. Again, this can be used for any program, so even if you're not in one of the technical programs, it is relevant for you as well. And so the module helps you think about, where are you already strong and where can you start? Where are some of that low-hanging fruit that you could use to start internationalizing at the programmatic level? The next 4 modules are really the core to help faculty internationalize a syllabus. And we ask you to take a syllabus that you're planning to teach and internationalize it as you go through these modules. So the first one really starts with thinking about your students. Where are they from? Getting to know them. What are their backgrounds? How could you bring that diversity into the classroom? So really thinking about how to differentiate for your individual students. And then the one around course planning has you thinking about your learning objectives for your course and for your activities and how those could be internationalized. And then how can you internationalize some of your activities? And finally, how do you assess for these skills? So throughout, although you're taking your syllabus, we really want you to think, if you're just getting started, start small, start with one project, start with one topic, and then build from there. Some of the other modules, if you are in a technical program and you want to think about how to reinforce these skills with your business and industry partners or with your work-based learning programs, we have 2 modules on that. And then we have 2 around technology. One is around global virtual collaboration. So if you want to do a project with a faculty member in another country, this will help you get started and be able to do it yourself. So we walk you through that whole process of how to do that. And then the last one is around social media. This was one that our faculty advisors felt very strongly that we should include because social media is so critical for companies these days and students don't always realize that. And so learning that practical aspect of social media and how to be good digital global citizens is important as well. So we cover that in that module too. So those are the faculty modules. They are all online. The URL is down here. And I can throw that into the chat too when I'm finished. But you can earn a certificate of completion for doing all of the modules if you're interested in that. And then in the fall, we'll have them available for campuses to put on their own LMS systems. So you can have them available for faculty that way so that they can easily access them. I'll skip the video since I have no
One of the
sound.
main
But you can actually see this is we do a lot of
United States,
animation
1 in 5 American
in the videos to try to
globally,
make them more engaging
like a
for
construction
faculty
boom in
and
Asia,
for
leading to a short
students as well when we get into the student modules.
Heather, we could actually hear that one.
Yeah.
You can hear that one?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll show it then.
One of the main reasons for including a global perspective in CTE programs is to prepare students for jobs in the global economy. We know that 95% of consumers live outside the United States, and 1 in 5 American jobs is tied to international trade. Because this broader cultural context needs to be considered, companies want globally competent employees who understand and can act on issues of global significance. Even the most seemingly local careers may have hidden ties globally, like a construction boom in Asia leading to a shortage of drywall in the US, or products going unsold or even being banned in other countries due to the meaning of particular colors and pictures used in marketing materials. And many jobs today require collaborating with people in other countries. Consider, if you were to meet a team from a Korean organization and you started shaking hands with the group in any order, you may offend the team because you should shake hands and exchange pleasantries with the boss first. Then you should greet the other members based on their hierarchy in the organization. Or let's say you have a virtual meeting with colleagues in Indonesia, and following the meeting, you send out an email detailing the discussions that were made and listing who is responsible for next steps. Common in the United States, right? Following the meeting, a colleague calls and says, "Don't you trust me? I told you in the meeting what I would do." We may think that we need to be clear in communication, but in other cultures, verbal commitments may be considered enough, and the email follow-up may lead to mistrust. Not that students need to be familiar with norms for every single culture in the world, but they do need to understand that there are different perspectives around the world, and be open to learning how to interact effectively when the need arises. We also know in the United States that the population is becoming increasingly diverse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the number of people who are Asian American or Latino or Hispanic are the fastest growing ethnic groups, and the population of those who classify as 2 or more races continues to grow. We know that if we want to assist our students in getting jobs and to later move into higher level positions, we must consider the most critical voice in this discussion, that of potential employers.
Then the video goes on, the module goes on to show some interviews with people who are working and using global skills in their jobs from a wide array of, from a chef to somebody working at an electric company to a project manager. So lots of different examples of how these skills are actually practically used. So that's the faculty modules. And we also have in-person and virtual professional development if campuses are interested in that. And that kind of follows the modules that's very flexible. We could do things on why is this important? How do you internationalize your curriculum? We could focus on the business and industry piece or the technology integration piece. We also have created a toolkit that is packed full of resources. Again, everything's free, and this is on the website at asiasociety.org/CTE toolkit. And there's a student section where we'll have the student modules, which I'll show in a minute. And then our post-secondary toolkit is all the resources for faculty and community colleges. And I'll share a few of these, but I won't go through all of them because we'd be here all day. But there's quite a lot in there to explore. First, I wanted to share just a little bit about the student modules. So we created these for students, primarily post-secondary students, but also high school students because we wanted to include that dual enrollment population. These, again, are all online, interactive, and free. They average, again, about 15 minutes each if you watch them straight through, but we do have some reflection activities. So if you assign them to students, assume it would be 20 to 25 minutes for them to complete a module. And we do have a certificate of completion available for students. And in the fall, we'll also start offering badges for them. And we do have that toolkit that I just showed you as well for them. So the first module, there's 4. This one takes them through, what is global competence and why is it important? We have them do a self-assessment too of their global competence skills, which helps them get a better sense of what they are, but also helps them think about where they are at in developing these skills. The second one helps them really then think about what do these skills look like on the job. And so first we have them go through 4 situational questions. They're tied to those 4 domains of global competence. So for example, this one is around investigate the world. We have them think about, if you're an American team that goes to Brazil and you're trying to make this deal, but the Brazilian team is taking you out to different lunches and dinners, and you're worried about not making the deal, what should you do? And so as students, they have a few different options to think about. And then, they find out that, this is just a way that Brazilians show their appreciation for the time Americans took to come there, to travel there, to try to do this deal. And even if they don't make the deal, they've created this deeper relationship to work together in the future. So that's kind of something that the students really liked these because, again, it was very practical, helping them to really understand how these skills can be used on the job. And some of them are around like diversity in your own communities, so not just about international travel. The other things in this module, we talk also about how these skills are important for being an American citizen. So all these global issues affect us and we can't solve them on our own. So it's not just about jobs and work, but it's about citizenship as well. And so we introduced the concept of the UN Sustainable Development Goals in here as well to help students realize that the challenges they face locally are also being faced by others around the world. And there are ways to solve these problems that we may not have come up with here in the United States, but we can be open to thinking about those other ways of solving problems and challenges. The third module then helps them think more specifically about how these skills are used within their own career field. So we have those employer videos of people being interviewed about the global nature of their jobs. And we also created something called the Great Tool. These are where the videos are. We have about 14 from all different CTE pathways, from a chef, somebody in STEM working at Boeing, an accountant, somebody working at Ford Motor Company, somebody working at Walmart. So students have a way to see the ways that various people are working in using these global skills. And then we have this great tool, the Global Readiness Examples and Topics. And for this, students can click into one of these 16 different career pathways, and then they get 12 different ideas and situations showing how these skills are actually applied on the job. So they may click into STEM and learn that, if you pick up any kind of scientific journal, you'll see teams of international researchers who have been working together to solve different problems. So real kind of practical examples of what this looks like within these different pathways. So this is a good way both for you to think about different types of discussion questions or projects you could build for your courses if you're in one of these, teaching in one of these programs, or it's a good way for students just to explore. And then the last module is really helping students, again, understand where they're at in developing these skills and then being able to articulate them. What we found is that many times faculty feel their students may have these skills already, but they don't know how to talk about them in a job interview. And so we help them with that process in this last module. This is just one of the videos from that last module around the interviewing part, but I'll skip that for time. Just a couple of other things that we have as resources that you might be interested in for these student modules. We do have assignments that you can use to extend any of those activities. Or if you're interested in teaching some of these topics, but you don't want to assign the modules, we also have lesson plans and handouts so that you can teach these in your courses. Our pilot group of educators who went through and looked at the modules felt that sometimes there were topics that they wanted to be able to teach in their courses. So we created all the kind of wraparound to materials to be able to help you to do that. So those are all online in the student assignment section. We do have sample projects tied to those UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this is cut off, but there are 17 different projects that you can take and teach in your courses. They're meant to be fully modifiable, flexible. You can make them longer, shorter, harder, easier, or you can just take the way we framed the project or the question and build your own project around that or assignment around that. So that's another tool that's there for you. And so this is just a little bit of feedback on the faculty modules, just that, faculty really like that they're short and sweet, and that they cover those technical areas that don't often have resources created for them around the internationalizing piece. And then for the student module, students really like those practical pieces of learning how to talk about these skills in an interview, understanding the local global connections and how those employability skills are actually used within their communities. This is an example from one of the pilot faculty who's at Harper College. She watched the modules and then internationalized her syllabus and taught it last semester. And it's a restaurant and equipment course, so you can see how she internationalized her course description. She added some global pieces to her course outcomes, and then she added a global readiness section to her course. So she did that all as she walked through and went through the modules and then taught the course, and she's made some tweaks to it since then. This is just another example of how an educator has internationalized his course. He's in Central Piedmont, which is outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, very diverse community, and he works with career firefighters and first responders. And so he wants them to build that trust not only within the fire station, but also with the community, which is highly diverse. And so he does that by having them do at least one global assignment a semester. He wants them to realize that their way of thinking isn't the only way, and to really bring that openness to other perspectives. And so he says that with these global assignments, students are really highly engaged and do some of their best work on them. We do have an opportunity coming up for faculty who might be interested in looking at going through some of this training with the modules. We're going to be doing a professional learning community with faculty from across the country. We're accepting applications now. We're going to take about 20 faculty and you'll receive a $500 honorarium. It's going to happen in June. You'll watch some of the modules each week, and we'll meet for an hour each week, and then you'll internationalize a course as you go through, and you'll have an opportunity to share and talk and exchange ideas with other faculty across the country. So if you're interested in that, I'll also put this link into the chat box for you. And then this is my LinkedIn QR code if you're interested in connecting, or feel free to email me if you have any questions at all about any of these materials. I know there's a lot in there, and that URL for the toolkit is in here as well. And I'll stop my share here. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those as well.
I think Carl has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Carl.
Hi, Heather. This is Carl Bushman. I'm on the business faculty here at Harper College. That was a terrific presentation. You've given me some real nuggets that I'll be following up with you. My question is Asia Society doing anything with the organization called Community Colleges for International Development?
Yes, we are. We've partnered with CCID. We for the pilot group that looked at the modules and gave feedback in the fall, we had 4 faculty who are involved in CCID go through that process. And then they actually came to the conference that we just had in New Orleans in March, and they shared their experience from that. But I would like to partner even more with CCID. I know that they did share the opportunity for June to participate in the PLC with all the CCID members. And I just put that link in the chat too, if anybody's interested.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Heather, I've got a question about the professional development sessions or the professional development modules. Are they self-paced? I mean, aside from the workshop this summer, but are they generally self-paced, or do you work in a cohort or with a group?
They're generally self-paced, yes. Although we're interested, oops, I was sending sorry, Angelica, I sent all the chat, the links privately. I'll send them again. Sorry, they're all self-paced, but we are open to working with any community colleges that might be interested in setting up, a PLC for your campus. But I hope in the future to also be able to offer more PLC cohorts. That the one that we're doing in June is kind of a pilot for our grant to test and see how it works and get some feedback. And then I'm hoping after that we'll be able to do more in the future, grant funding allowing and things like that. I'll put my email in the chat too if anybody wants to reach out.
Any more questions?
Heather, I'm guessing you're familiar with both, I believe it's at Yvonne Schmidt, or I'm trying to remember who did the fantastic presentation at the CCID conference in New Orleans. I remember I attended one that was given by the Asia Society.
Yes. Yeah. So that was the one we had some of our pilot participants there, that one?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So we had we had 2 who are doing IT technical kind of programs. One who is in hospitality, which is Lee Ping Liu from University of Hawaii's community college system. And we have one other one. I'm trying to remember. We actually had one who does like electric circuits and things like that, like more electrical engineering piece. So those were the faculty who shared their experience internationalizing their courses. And it was interesting because they all took different pieces from the modules. Some internationalized their course, some did the student modules, and some did a virtual exchange project. So they found different ways to bring this content to their students. It's not really one size fits all. We really want it to be very flexible and modifiable for what works for you and your course and your students.
So my question then, Heather, is those people I saw, did they do what you're just talking about? They did the summer modules, just like you're offering now, and then went from there?
It was close. They were piloting the modules. So they watched all 10 modules first on their own, internationalized their course on their own, and then they taught their course either last fall or in the winter. And we met together with focus groups with an external evaluator to find out what they thought about the modules so that we would know if we needed to change or shift anything with the modules. So we did have office hours too, where they were getting together and talking and sharing ideas. But it was a little different than what we'll be doing in the PLC, where each week we'll watch a different module and you'll kind of go through that process of internationalizing your course over the course of the month and have that opportunity to meet each week with others to talk and share ideas. So it's similar.
Thank you.
Sure.
I guess I have a question as well. I'm just wondering here if you, and I know I have a lot of faculty here, so I don't want to step in anyone's toes, but it looks like a great resource, and I'm just here getting creative and thinking about ways that all this resource could be available to students that are not necessarily linked to the classroom environment. So if you could do like extra, like extra grading, like extra work for reaching those modules, or if there's any other ways that you can make those resources available to students that they can still take advantage and that we could still promote and make available to them.
Yeah, the student modules wouldn't have to be assigned by faculty. Like any student could take them. And right now, there's a certificate of completion that they can earn, even if they're not doing it as part of a course. It's kind of a self-reported one. But in the fall, we're going to offer badges for each module. But again, students will be able to just go, anybody can just go and take those. And will be able to earn the badges. They don't have to be as part of a course. So that is something that you could advertise separately that any student could take, even if their faculty isn't kind of doing this work or assigning it.
So even a club or
Yep, definitely. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about clubs doing it, but yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, I want to be mindful of your time, Heather, and I want to give our guests one more chance to ask their questions.
Do feel free to reach out or to apply for the PLC. I put the notice out a week or so ago, and we do have 30 faculty who have over 30 now who have applied, and we can only do like 15 to 20. So it will be a little bit competitive, but we do hope we can get some more to apply.
Perfect. Nellie, do you have any?
No, I mean, I would just encourage our faculty to check out these resources because they do seem very flexible in terms of how we can incorporate them into our courses or for our own professional development. So I definitely know I'm going to be looking at quite a few of those.
Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for coming to speak with us today.
Great
Thank you,
resources.
Matt.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, so we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we will start back up at 2:10 with our final presentation with Pearl Ratneal and Mukila Maitha. See you guys then.
Nellie, is it the same? This is Pearl. Is it the same link or am I going to another one?
It's the same link. We decided to make it easy and not make a bunch of different links. So,
Cool. Thank you.
yeah. Did you and Mukila want to test anything out? I know we've had some glitches. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I can share our PowerPoint, see if it works.
Okay.
And in order for us to do this, like we both have to run a bunch of programs in the background. So I don't know how that's going to end up with WebEx running.